I'm going to show you the fastest and best ways to level cooking, as well as a lot of places to get the materials that you'll need, where to get spices, where to get the rare items, so on and so forth. So the fastest way to level up cooking is pretty straightforward, actually. It's just going to be the light rations or travel rations. So the real big question, not these, the whole of them, not the first two, but you know, the highest one you can do. So when you unlock these ones, you're going to do these. Once you unlock these ones, you're going to do these, and then once you unlock the last ones, you're going to do these. If there's not a tier 3, 4, 5 kitchen that for you to use, I mean, you can always go to a different place to get one if there's not one in the territory that you are in. But you can also go outside of your town and then look for a camp and see if there's someone has a tier 3 or tier 4 camp, and you can set it as your respawn, and then it'll let you craft these meals at that camp, and that's another way you can do it if there's no kitchen. As for all the stuff down here, like fish bait and this kind of thing, and strength foods and all this, as far as leveling up, none of these are worth it. They don't give very good experience at all compared to the ingredients to get them, especially any of these specialty foods, because they use things like peppercorn, which you get from hyssop and stuff like that, that's too difficult to get to do in bulk. So really what you're going to focus on is getting tier 1 foods and then tier 2 or tier 3 or tier 4 as you get up. So in the very beginning, you'll just be looking for game meat, which is from rabbits. You're going to be looking for poultry, which is from skinning turkeys. The easiest one, hands down in my opinion, though, is nuts. Anytime you're in a forest or a brown biome that has iron, there's nuts all over the place on the ground. You can get those. There's cows in some of the towns that you can milk like once an hour or something, so you can always grab those to get a little bit. And then there's that exploit for the boar over in Restless Shore, which I'll link in the just top of the description. And you can just get, people sell pork pretty cheap now, right now, because of it. Though I don't know if that exploit will be around forever. I don't know if people are mad they don't want to call it an exploit, so I don't know how that's going to work out. But if that stays around forever, then pork's probably pretty cheap on the market. You can probably just buy it. Once you get to tier 2, you're going to need one of these tier 2 ingredients. There's more than this. It's just what I have on hand right now. And you're just going to use one tier 2 and then anything else. And now here's where the trick really comes in to save materials. There's an ingredient called honey. And honey is basically free. If you want to farm honey, instead of buying it though, you can always go to Windsward, and down here to the west, southwest of Windsward, there's Willits Homestead. And right around Willits Homestead, there are a ton of honey trees. Another good place for honey is Forlac, just by Cutlass Keys to the southeast Cutlass Keys. And on the south side of Forlac, there's a bunch of honey trees. So those are the two best places that I know of in the game to get honey. And honey is an amazing filler ingredient. So any of these ones, when you're making tier 2 foods, you can fill in with honey. When you're making tier 3 foods, you can fill in one of those ingredients with honey, and so on and so forth. And we'll get something, special about honey in a second, even beyond that. So then the other thing is you're just going to focus on getting throwaway foods. And on the market, you can generally find blueberries really cheap. I don't know if this will be like this forever. So take this with a grain of salt if you're watching this video like a year from now, okay? Because this is like 15 days after the release of the game or something. But right now, at least on my server, and I assume on a lot of servers, blueberries are really cheap. Pork is really cheap. Sometimes nuts are cheap, but not really. And then cranberries are sometimes cheap. And you can generally find those. You just go to the market, go to cooking ingredients, go by price, and see what ingredients you can find for cheap, assuming you're going to buy it. And we'll get to ingredient locations in just a second. I'll give you some good ingredient locations. Once you get tier 3, it's going to be the same ordeal. You're just going to need more throwaway food. So you just use like nuts. And I don't like using milk personally, so I'd use like pork and then throw in the honey. And then you just need tier 4 like broccoli or something like that. Tier 5, those where things change suddenly, though. Once you get to 150 cooking and you're making the hearty meals, which are level 60, by the way, if you didn't know, you're going to need tier 5s and a seasoning. But there's a trick for this. There's a little cheat for this. Honey is actually a seasoning. So this seasoning one is free. Do not use any of this complicated stuff that's really hard to get. Just use honey. Then these other ones, you can use anything else. So blueberries, and I'd use nuts, and I would use mushrooms were the other one that was real cheap on the server. And then the tier 5 ingredients, I don't know how it'll be, a year from now, but 15 days or however long it's been. I think it's only been 12 days since the release of the game. The 3 cheap ones that I buy all the time on the market for like 1 gold or 1.5 gold, 1.25 gold, whatever, are coconuts, tomatoes, and sometimes rice. Those are the ones that I generally see under 2 gold. And since I'm making like the best food in the game, I'm generally willing to pay that price, since the other ingredients, they don't add up to very much. I can generally make hearty meals right now on this server for maybe 3 to 4 gold a piece, which is kind of expensive, but you know, when you want to win wars, you want to win wars. Now, once you get down to these other ones, they start using wacky ingredients. Bait's a little different though. It just uses game meat or fish, or use any kind of meat, so that wouldn't be so bad. Actually, with the exploit right now, the boar exploit, you could use pork and make infinite meat bait. So if you're a fisher, you could probably just buy the pork right now on the market since the exploit's going around, everyone's using it, and you can buy pork for like 0.1 and stuff sometimes. So once you get to any of these other ones, though, they're going to use different crazy ingredients. And I'll explain just a second where to get these. So, you know, you go through here, and there's dill, there's butter, there's salt. And some of these you convert, some of these you find. Like, dill is just dill. There's no converting to dill. But butter, that's made from milk. And you go down here, and cheese, that's made from milk. Seasoning blends made from spices, okay? But broccoli is just broccoli. There's no converting. You get all the way down here to food components, which typo doesn't have a space. And you get flour, butter, cheese, pasta, sausage, cooking oil, bread, pastry crust, and seasoning blend. And these will use different ingredients to make. So seasoning blend's a real costly one because it uses 3 seasonings, which is not fun. You can use honey for 1, but you got to use something of the other ones for the expensive and difficult to get ones for the other ones. Pastry crust, flour, salt, water. Cheese is milk and yeast. Butter is just milk. Flour is any grain, and corn's probably the easiest one. Barley, I only know of one place in the game that you can get barley. So that's how you make those, and you go back up to make any of those other ones if they need one of those ingredients. But a lot of these just use things standalone, like strawberry, berry, mint, ginger, nutmeg, whatever. And so it's always good practice to just collect any of these ingredients whenever you see them when you're out and about. Okay, so now where to get these. Most of the seasonings come from the hyssop plant, that little like purpley looking plant that gives you hyssop that you use to make potions. But the catch is every region drops different spices when you mine hyssop. So in First Light, I have a list. Hold on. Okay, it's not an extensive list, but I have in Windsward, you find mint, thyme, and ginger. In First Light, you find cinnamon, dill, and nutmeg from those hyssop plants. In Everfall, it was sage and basil, and there's probably a third one, but I did write it down, and that was when I stopped doing it and went back to just playing the game. So as you see, you get different things on different places. So if you want to find an ingredient, try finding hyssop spawns in different places. I know some good hyssop spawns. I think there was one in Monarchs over on this island, but don't quote me on that. I don't quite remember Monarchs. Windsward has great hyssop spawns in the starting zone, right here and then right there, I think is where it was. And then in First Light, there's some good hyssop spawns north up here somewhere. I forget where exactly, but you'll find them eventually up in there. And then Everfall doesn't really have any good hyssop spawns. There's some southwest, there's some northwest, but there are very few and far between. Also, I forgot, I know some of you guys get totally tilted about me not buying my territory standings. Let me just go ahead and buy these real fast. And I'll just stop the recording for a sec for that. Okay, that is all taken care of. So no more territory standing things I need to do. So the other ones that you're going to need, there's some other things you need. So yeast, salt, sugar, and I think those were the 3. I think there's only 3. You find those in different places. You find yeast from provision crates in Monarchs. When you go to get those chests, some of them are provision crates. Some of them are supply crates. I don't remember if there's a third one or I don't remember. I know there's one right outside of town at Crone's Rest, but in Monarch's Bluffs, but other good places up here at Trader's Hold. There's a bunch in there. I don't really remember where they are in the other places, but you'll find them here and there in the little towns and stuff. So be sure to loot those whenever you see them. In Everfall, I want to say it was salt, and then Windsward was sugar. Now in First Light, it doesn't drop any of those 3. Provision crates also give other materials that you can only find from provision crates, like tomatoes and coconuts and certain things that I personally have never found growing anywhere that I can harvest. So First Light was like that, and I think Cutlass Keys is like that. So be sure to go around to different places getting provision crates if you want to get a little bit of every single spice and seasoning and different weird foods. Now as for good ingredient farming spots, any farm will have a bunch of stuff for you to get. Like there's Grenville. It has like corn and a bunch of stuff if you run around the fields. Cooper's Ranch, same kind of deal. Moe's Farm had a bunch of stuff. I forget what, but it had a bunch of stuff. Willett's Homestead, I think, had a bunch. Farside Township had a ton of food. Farside Township has a crazy amount of tier 2 food, like carrots and squash and stuff. Tres Campos is great. Aruda Ranch, I think, might have something. And if you need ingredients, you're just going to go around to all those ones. Also for tier 4, I know broccoli you can get just outside of Everfall in this farm right here. So there's one place to farm tier 4 ingredients. Every time I head out of Everfall, I check the broccoli spawn and grab some if it's there. And also, again, nuts you find in these brown territories, like brown biomes. When you're running around those, be sure to watch your compass if you're high enough gathering. so that you can see them. They're hard to see without the compass. And then go ahead and grab nuts whenever you're running through those places, because that's just like free tier 1 foods, free throwaway food. Now the last thing I think to tell you about cooking is that there is a bonus chance to get additional items. This percentage goes higher and higher the higher level that you get, and the percentage is lower and lower depending on how high of the thing you're crafting. So even though I'm crafting 200, if I craft hearty meals, I don't have additional chance to craft items. But there are random like rings and amulets, or I can't remember if it was an amulet or a ring. I want to say it was a ring that did it, but I actually don't remember offhand. Maybe it was an earring. It was earring. Here it is. 4% chance to craft additional items when cooking. I think there's also trophies you can put in a house that might do the same thing. I'm not 100% sure. And you can combine things like that in order to save money, getting more bonus items whenever you craft, which is really helpful when crafting these crazy things for the buffs and whatnot, because they use so many obnoxious ingredients that it's really helpful to get bonus items. And I think that's pretty much everything I could think to tell you about this. Obviously, if I didn't mention it in the beginning, which was the higher level ones give more experience, 24 for tier 2, 90 tier 3, 300 tier 4, 775 for the tier 5 foods, and cooking is the easiest skill, crafting skill in the game to get to level 200. So expect level 200 real fast if you're buying the materials on the market. But that's pretty much everything I can tell you about cooking. Cooking's a pretty fun profession. Food is kind of OP in this game, so it's nice to have it. Your company will thank you if you make lots of food for them and give it to them before wars. It'll definitely help you win the game. And also there's like luck food, which is really helpful for finding rare items, especially when you're doing the end game level 60 stuff, trying to get Tolvium and all that crazy stuff. So that's stuff that you should definitely be paying attention to. And also one last thing, a kitchen tier 2, I kind of half mentioned it. Make sure that if you can't craft it, check down the bottom right and it'll tell you what kitchen tier you need. Like if I go to this, I need a tier 4. So if you can't craft, you don't know why, that might be why it won't let you make it. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I can think to tell you about cooking in New World. So hopefully now you have a better understanding of how to do this. Hopefully now you can get to max level cooking and do everything right the way that you want. And now you'll be a master of cooking in New World.